North Carolina is home to these vast, quiet tracts of land places like the Pisgah National Forest, the Blue Ridge Mountains, deep woods that hide even deeper secrets. And today, we're not really discussing folklore. We're diving into a case where the official secret turned out to be, well, far more disturbing than any old legend.
We're examining the 2016 disappearance of Evan Carter. The initial conclusion was, classic missing person.
Right. Disorientation,
A
exposure.
tragic accident. But our stack of sources, and this includes leaked files, digital forensics, it paints a picture of a calculated pursuit.
A pursuit.
Yes. It suggests this case was deliberately closed with a lie because the truth involved highly sensitive, classified activities.
So our mission here is to trace how quickly this local mystery just intersected with federal secrecy. For anyone tracking how information control really works, or how a local incident can hide a high-level plot, we're going to give you the shortcut to understanding what really happened.
What happened when Evan Carter's file was intentionally shut down?
Yeah.
We'll move step by step through the evidence. We'll start with the scene of the disappearance, then we'll transition through just a stunning analysis of his digital footprint, and we'll end with a quote from a classified file that just changes everything.
Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with the timeline. Evan Carter was a 29-year-old EMP from Hickory, North Carolina.
An EMT, right.
On the night of October 14th, 2016, it was around 10:30 p.m., he tells his roommate he's just going for a quick drive.
And that's it. He never returned.
Never came back. 2 days later, his vehicle, it's a late model sedan, is located.
And it's found abandoned miles from any main road, kind of tucked away on a remote logging track near the edge of Pisgah National Forest. Standard procedure would suggest immediate distress,
A driver leaving his vehicle, staggering into the wilderness, something like that.
Exactly.
But the sources we have, the ones detailing that initial scene, they immediately undermine that whole narrative.
They really do.
When police arrived, they found the car doors were unlocked. Now, that isn't necessarily strange on its own, but the contents, that was something else.
What did they find?
Evan's wallet, full of cash, identification, just left right there on the passenger seat.
And that is the first major anomaly. I mean, if this was a robbery, the wallet's gone.
Of course.
If it was a sudden breakdown leading to panic, why would you leave your ID, your money? It argues against, spontaneous crime, and it argues against simple disorientation.
And then there's the second anomaly, which just complicates it even more.
The phone.
The only item missing from the car was his cell phone. If someone is truly lost or in distress, they'd take their phone, right? For navigation, communication.
Even if the battery was low, you'd take it. It's your lifeline.
Absolutely.
And the physical scene, it just defied explanation. Investigators noted no signs of a struggle in or around the car, but the most confounding detail, it was the lack of footprints.
On a dirt road.
On a dirt logging road. They expected to find signs of someone scrambling, or at least a distinct set of prints leading away. There was nothing.
Nothing discernible.
It suggests either a meticulous cleanup or that Evan left the vehicle in a highly controlled manner and was then immediately and cleanly taken away.
Defies the narrative is right.
Yeah.
That sounds less like someone walked away and more like someone stepped out and was just lifted away.
Mm-hmm.
So if the scene was scrubbed clean of prints, how did investigators even know where to look next? This is where the case pivots completely.
Thanks to a worried family member?
Right.
That family member gave the police access to Evan's personal computer. And what they found, well, up until about 3 weeks before his disappearance, his search history was mundane.
Like local news, stuff for his job as an EMT.
Professional development, typical browsing. Then the change was, well, it was remarkable.
The sources detail this intense shift toward highly technical, often very dense subjects. He wasn't just curious anymore.
No, he was researching.
We're talking searches for specific government contract numbers. Not random strings of letters and numbers, but highly specific identifiers.
The kind associated with defense projects or environmental regulation. We also see these detailed geospatial searches for environmental testing sites across that whole region.
This is the digital footprint of a man who moved way beyond just casual curiosity.
He started digging into the specific mechanics of classified government work. We can infer that these contract numbers were likely related to infrastructure, maybe material science, or, more tellingly, ecological surveys, things related to site cleanup.
The recurring phrase, the one that popped up dozens of times in the weeks leading up to October 14th, was Brown Mountain Anomaly, North Carolina.
Now, for a lot of you listening, Brown Mountain immediately brings up folklore, right? The ghost lights or UFO sightings is part of the local mystique.
Exactly. And if you were just reading folklore, The case stays local and just odd. But the sources we have reveal Evan Carter was not reading Wikipedia entries on local legends.
No, he was attempting to access documents described in the source material as classified environmental reports.
All tied to that specific geographic area.
And this establishes motive immediately. Evan was not a potential victim who got disoriented while, enjoying the forest. His advanced, highly specific research proves he was a subject who had gained knowledge of something highly sensitive.
So he wasn't going to the forest to escape.
He was going there to investigate a pre-identified restricted zone.
And here's where all that contradictory physical evidence from the logging road suddenly gets external validation. The police were contacted by a local hunter.
A hunter who claimed to have seen something very unusual deep in the woods on the night Evan vanished.
Right, but the initial reaction from authorities, according to the files, was just dismissal.
They wrote him off. They thought he was just another local conspiracy theorist trying to link the missing person case to the Brown Mountain myths.
But the hunter's account was just too specific to ignore entirely. He claimed that late that night, far deeper in the woods than Evan's car was even found.
He saw a large, black, unmarked truck.
Not a local pickup, a utility vehicle. And crucially, with no license plates.
And above the truck, slightly above the tree line, he said he saw bright, silent lights hovering.
Not aircraft lights. He was specific about that.
Right.
Large, directional, silent lights.
And this is where investigators made a critical decision. Despite all their skepticism, they decided to pull satellite imaging of the specific coordinates the hunter provided.
And what do the images show?
They showed something definitive. They showed a temporary clearing in the deep forest, a space that appeared to have been recently cut or, temporarily utilized.
Large enough for a vehicle like the one the hunter described.
And perhaps a temporary landing zone for equipment. And here is the crucial, non-negotiable detail from the report.
What's that?
That clearing vanished 3 days later.
Wow. Vanished. That is astonishingly efficient.
They didn't just walk away from the scene, they actively erased it. A clearing doesn't just grow back overnight. It suggests heavy, pre-planned logistics and immediate demobilization, operations that are far beyond the scope of local crime or a search party.
It directly counters the idea that Evan was just a lost hiker.
The presence of a temporary industrialized spot in that exact location. It confirms the hunter's testimony and provides physical evidence of a clandestine operation taking place precisely when Evan disappeared.
And yet, despite the unexplained car scene, the deep dive into classified searches, and the verified existence of this temporary vanishing clearing, the official machine just ground out a stunningly simple conclusion.
The public file, the one they released to the media and to Evan's family, it stated, and I'm quoting here, "We believe Mr. Carter became disoriented and succumbed to the elements."
Case closed. Based on presumed exposure, despite having no body, no clothing.
No sign that he even walked more than 5 feet from his car.
And that would have been the final word, right? Just another cold case buried in the North Carolina woods. But then we fast forward to 2021.
And this is where bureaucratic procedure accidentally pierces the cover-up.
A file surfaces via a Freedom of Information request. A request that was clearly not meant to uncover the full truth, but which contained documents related to the case.
This leaked file, categorized as restricted, is the smoking gun. It confirms the institutional deception. Buried within a short, non-contextual paragraph was a single, devastating sentence.
And we need to focus on this exact line from the source material.
The line reads, "Subject exhibited knowledge of restricted test zones. Retrieval unsuccessful."
Retrieval unsuccessful. That phrasing, it strips away all the ambiguity of the official statement.
If you critically analyze the language, the implication is massive. The use of the word subject.
It's so clinical.
It's clinical and hierarchical. It is not the language you use for a victim who accidentally stumbled into danger or a missing person that the police are looking for.
No, it suggests prior knowledge, surveillance.
A specific classification of the individual based on their access or potential access to sensitive information.
And retrieval unsuccessful. That doesn't mean search failed.
Not at all. It means a specific mission to bring Evan in did not achieve its objective. This flips the entire narrative.
So Evan wasn't running away from some unknown threat.
He was being actively pursued by a known, organized, and classified entity. This confirms that the search history we discussed earlier, the government contract numbers, the environmental testing sites, that's what made him a target.
They knew what he knew.
They knew he had the knowledge. The question then becomes, why was the retrieval mission unsuccessful? Did he actually manage to evade them that night?
And the source material clarifies Evan Carter's actual status.
Yeah.
He wasn't simply lost, and he wasn't an accidental discovery. He was an independent investigator.
Right, actively trying to expose what he had learned.
Our sources suggest Evan was communicating with an anonymous online whistleblower, someone who gave him those initial contract numbers and geospatial coordinates.
And this whistleblower warned him about highly sensitive operations in those parts of western North Carolina.
And what was the nature of this illegal activity that an EMT from Hickory was trying to expose?
The material points to extensive illegal environmental testing, military-grade experiments, and crucially, toxic chemical dumps.
Dumps in areas described by the whistleblower as off-the-grid locations, not meant for maps.
So the connection between the classified environmental reports he was searching for and the physical presence of that temporary clearing, it becomes undeniable.
It all clicks into place.
Evan was getting dangerously close to uncovering toxic dumping activities that likely involved specialized, regulated chemical substances tied to large government contracts. That level of exposure is exactly why retrieval was mandatory.
He was a loose end that they needed to tie up immediately, which explains the speed, the efficiency of that cleanup operation we saw in these satellite images.
They couldn't allow a citizen journalist to start exposing environmental crimes that could lead to massive legal and political consequences.
And you have to consider the risk Evan was taking. As an EMT, he would have understood the direct health risks of toxic waste.
Oh, absolutely. Chemical exposure. That likely intensified his sense of urgency to go out to that restricted zone himself.
But the story doesn't even stop there. With the 2021 FOIA release, we have a final, genuinely unnerving twist from as recently as 2023.
And this time, the truth doesn't surface through bureaucracy. It comes from pure civilian persistence.
The civilian hobbyist, right? Someone who regularly scans the airways.
On specific shortwave radio frequencies, and they intercepted a cryptic, low-power transmission.
And what was the content? What cut through the static?
3 stark, simple words.
Which were?
Carter was right.
Wow. And here's the most compelling part. The signal didn't just drift off into the atmosphere. The hobbyist was actually able to trace the signal's origin.
It traced directly back to a restricted zone in western North Carolina.
The very area he was investigating. The area where the official narrative claimed he simply perished from exposure.
The implication for you, the listener, is terrifying, and it's twofold. First, whatever cause Evan Carter was championing, the environmental crimes, the classified testing, it's still ongoing.
Years after the official record declared the case closed.
And second, if that transmission originated from inside a restricted test zone in 2023, 2 years after the smoking gun was leaked, it raises the possibility that Evan, or at least the movement he started, is still active.
Or that the sender was someone intimately involved in the original event who later, maybe, defected.
This entire deep dive, drawing from all these disparate sources, the abandoned car, the classified searches, the satellite images, the bureaucratic slip of the tongue, it brings us to this powerful, chilling realization.
Evan Carter wasn't a victim of nature.
He was a casualty of information control. He was erased because he transitioned from a curious local citizen to a subject with sensitive knowledge.
It forces us to confront the closing sentiment drawn from this whole investigation. Sometimes, the scariest places aren't haunted. They're classified.
And you have to consider the implications when official agencies are willing to dismiss clear, objective physical evidence. I mean, satellite imaging proving a temporary landing spot. They ignored that. They ignored eyewitness accounts.
Only to have the truth emerge years later through what bureaucratic slips in FOIA files, or the luck of a shortwave radio hobbyist.
Exactly.
And what else, you have to wonder, is currently hidden in a restricted test zone that we won't hear about until another transmission cuts through the static years from now? Are there other Carters out there currently transitioning from curious, local to government subject? Or perhaps, is the danger Evan was investigating still actively, quietly poisoning that beautiful landscape?
That's something to keep in mind the next time you look at a map of North Carolina and see those vast, empty green spaces.